'82. They were all living together in the same home, and they would come down to eat lunch at a place where they set up for lunch, and I was working as the person who served the lunch, and it was just something to do. We tried a lot of things. With older people, we had little play groups where we would read plays. You know, the local college had loaned us all kinds of plays that we could read together, and did all sorts of things. And finally a woman came by and said, I can play the piano. Can you get some people together to sing? And so that's how it started.
They're coming to take me away.
There was a period in our little town of Northampton where there were a lot of empty storefronts, a lot of empty buildings, and in the 70s there was an enormous number of either students who had graduated at one of the schools or one of the universities in the area and chose to stay in the area and do some form of art, like whether it be painting or dance or theater or whatever. So there was quite a strong young artist community, and they often did projects together. And Bob was very active in one of those theater groups, and with some music and some film programs as well. And when he started working with the residents at this Walter Salvo, this home for residents for the elderly, he decided that he wanted to do a show with them and asked me if I would come in and help. I probably was like 34 and you like 28, something like that. Yeah. And that was a time you were young enough that you thought you had a whole lot of time. So you did a lot of things. I mean, I was holding down a full-time job. You were holding down a full-time job. And it was just sort of the autumn of '83, I think,
yeah, it was.
That we showed something. And then I would say about 6 or 7 years after we had done this first piece at the Walter Salvo with the Residents for the Elderly, we did a gigantic community project that we called Louie Louie that had a lot of the dancers and performers and young actors and artists and just community people. There was carpenters and people that worked on bridges and a lot of just people from the community, and the Young at Heart was one of those groups within that. There were about 100 people on stage at one point. Sometimes when you're making something, you learn after the fact what it's about, because there's a certain sort of childlike playfulness that comes with creativity. So it's not that you're negating the fact that a message could be conveyed, but you're not starting off with an idea that you have something specific to say and then you, in a very objective way, try and get at that message. I think for me, it was just sort of a set of circumstances. It's just sort of a very accidental sort of encountering Bob that was working with a group of elderly. But we were already working with children and not thinking in terms of that, you know, it's a fact of life that this group, they die within a matter of years, you know, and that's, rather than thinking of that as something problematic, it's just part of the fabric. It's just what it is. And, you know, it's kind of interesting to talk to them about the way they deal with the fact that they lose members of a cast, of a community, you know. And then someone steps in and takes over that person's song. It's kind of a heavy thing.
Oklahoma City is mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona. Don't forget Winona, Kingston, Barstow, San Bernardino. See, hip to this trail. Yeah.
and I learned a lot of that, and at some point we started playing around with newer music, and it became fun, and we sort of done that a lot now. I mean, our next show, we're looking back at some of the music that we originally did, and some other songs from their era, but you know, not trying to compartmentalize it necessarily. You know, it all needs the same energy to be interesting. It's fun. It's what we've done for a long time, and it's part of the work that we do. So it is nice when we can go beyond just presenting the theater piece and sort of presenting what it is, the other things that we do. We're going to do this collaboration with the high school or college choir, and you know, that should be fun. As long as everybody's open to having fun, it'll be fun. And you know, I really look forward to that. It's always great to do something different than what we've been doing. Should I stay or should I go now? Should I stay or should I go now?
The chorus actually has done a lot in the schools. They haven't really recently, because they've had such a intensive touring, both these theatrical works that No Theater does, and also they have a whole series that they do in the colleges now. But they have a history of going into really young schools and doing, where, you know, here we're talking about 80 and 90-year-olds being around, you know, 6 and 7-year-olds and totally relating, like getting on the stage together and singing and dancing and moving. It's quite remarkable. And Jen.
You know, it won't work. There's my deck. Look at that. I don't know how these guys have been playing.
Oh, I didn't even connect. Yeah. How would you define that in terms of three of a kind?